All right, here we go. Bombastic is presented by Hawke Media. We've got a special guest today, Metta Sandiford-Artest. How are you coping with this coronavirus so far?
I'm doing okay, but I'm just so concerned about what's happening out there in the world.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, listen, you're from New York. I'm from New York. You're from Queens. You're from like the fancy part of New York. I'm from Westchester, the hood. So, but New York has got hit hard, man. How do you think your boy Cuomo's doing right now?
I'm not a politician, so I don't know if he's doing well or doing bad. I don't know. I don't know if you can judge someone off what's happening.
I don't think there's any perfect answer. We closing the borders off too soon, waiting too late, letting people go back to school. I mean, at the end of the day, don't you have to hope that people are trying to do their best, politics aside?
You would hope that politicians are being humane at this point.
Yeah, true that. Well, speaking about something a little happier, you got married recently, and you made the news again. You always seem to make the news. Metta Ford, maiden name. Talk to me about that. I don't think anybody's ever done that.
Well, it's been 2 years ago, and so it's not anything new. And it's actually Sandiford, Metta Sandiford-Artest.
So how do you explain that to me, Metta Sandiford?
My wife's name, her last name is Sandiford.
Oh, Sandiford. So what is the Metta Ford like? Again, you just brought this up. We only know what the news tells us because, you and I don't hang out all the time. So I don't know what your story is. Right. And I find out, wow, that's interesting. It just happened. It's like, no, bro, it happened 2 years ago. I don't know where you've been, but.
Yeah. I was just talking to somebody about it on a podcast and then it just went viral. But yeah, it's Metta. I kept my first name.
Yeah.
That I changed, and then I changed my middle name, World Peace, middle and last name.
New York girl or Cali girl?
Canada.
Canada?
Yeah.
Wow, you went neutral a little bit on that, huh? You didn't want to pick one or the other.
You just never know when the time is right, Perfect timing.
That's exactly right. So what did she think about using her name? Was that her idea or your idea?
It was her idea. She thought that's how it should be, and I just had to do what I had to do.
So, how many people are quarantining with you right now?
It's me, my wife, my son, and my daughter. So
okay.
Yeah.
And have you guys been stuck in the house, or you been kind of moving around a little bit to other people that that are safe and have been quarantining?
Well, originally the first 6 weeks, just stuck in the house, grocery shopping, things like that. My son's birthday, we had 3 people. He turned 21. So right. Nice little social distancing.
21st birthday quarantine. Man, he was supposed to be clubbing. What happened?
Well, we had some drinks. Had some drinks. It was good.
And you didn't have to worry about him passing out in some bar after doing lemon shots or something.
Absolutely. That's the key.
What's he like sipping on right now?
I think we had that. Yeah, he might have had 3 different types of
He'll
drinks.
develop a preference.
I
remember, I grew up in New York, and I'm older. I'm 56, so the drinking age back when I was growing up was 18. So you were going down to New York City, getting fake ID, going out to bars when you were 16 or 17, pointing to the bouncer like the peach fuzz that you had. You're like, look, man, why you?
Yeah, exactly. I don't grow hair. So
yeah, exactly. It's funny because I remember thinking, how can people drink scotch or whiskey? That stuff is nasty,
Yeah.
And you get older, you start to acquire a taste for a lot of things, I guess, right?
Well, I think whiskey is good to have right now. You can't go more than 3 years without having some whiskey,
Yeah, I believe that. Listen, people were talking about happy hour starting earlier now, and it's weird because I feel busier in some senses, and at the same time, my mind is tired, before the end of the day. Do you find yourself, you're involved in a lot of things. People are you're an entrepreneur. You got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, very busy because online you're trying to move the needle. What I had to do was actually pause a lot of my meetings.
Mm-hmm.
So, some days I want to be done at 3. I don't want to be doing any meetings on Zoom after 3 some days.
You're getting burnt out on Zoom, man?
I'm burnt out on Zoom. I did everything on Zoom. I had parties, meetings, all type of things on Zoom.
If you'd have told me 2 years ago it really could take the place of a meeting and we could really function and connect in some way, I wouldn't have bet it. But being forced into it, don't you feel like you're probably surprised a little bit that you can connect? I
think FaceTime is important. I think the Zoom really it expanded our way of communication. I think people will be doing it more. Yeah, I think you're going to see more companies having live video. It's just brilliant, you know, especially big, you know, Fortune 500 companies. Why not just have your videos in-house or just use Zoom, whatever the case may be?
Yeah.
I really enjoy it, and I feel like you can get more work done. You can work with people internationally. So it was brilliant. I've been working with people internationally since COVID on Zoom.
Yeah, they're actually going to be coming out with results, which I know, you know, again, a lot of people don't know. You're a very tech-savvy guy. You taught yourself a lot. You surround yourself with a lot of smart people. They're going to show performance has actually increased in terms of the time that people are actually online working.
COVID pretty much happened in LA about March 11th. That's pretty much when things was like, everybody chill out. I remember being upset because I had an app coming out that was going to bring basketball players together. So when that happened, the first 3 days I was really, you know, like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? You know, because everything was uncertain. And then online, I was really working on LinkedIn a lot. And the engagement on LinkedIn was just going through the roof for me personally. So I'm just like, this could be a really good thing. And what I found out was, you know, people were still buying merchandise off my e-commerce store. People are still engaging online. A lot of investors pulled out of certain investments, but then you had other investors that was getting in. The same amount that's pulling out.
June boom.
The amount's getting in.
June boom. Be ready for it. June boom. People are coming out of it. Investors, you're right. They said keep your powder dry. Now they're saying you got to get after it. There's a lot of opportunity this time too.
Everybody's online. So, you know, the more channels you can connect, you know, especially for an athlete, we want to see different KPIs, right? For my business, I want to see people who's engaged, who wants to play games, who also wants to buy merchandise. And I don't think that's going to stop.
Video gaming is going crazy. I have a investment in a company called PvP.com, player versus player. They're going crazy right now. I mean, people are online gaming like maniacs. Their eyes are going to fall out of their head.
For my app, you know, I also want to get people engaging offline. So, you know, as great as it is online, you still want people engaging offline.
I heard something, and maybe this is news that came out like 500 years ago too, that I fucking just became aware of. And maybe everybody knows it but me, but shortly after you were drafted, you took a job at Circuit City so you could like still keep your discount. Is that like a widely known fact?
When I was 19 years old, got drafted to Chicago, and I was bored, and I was also getting involved in things in the street as a professional basketball player. So I just needed things to occupy my time. My buddy was working at Circuit City, and I was going there every day, and he told me about his discounts. And I said, hey, man, maybe I can get a job here. He introduced me to his boss. Really nice guy. I wish I knew the guy's name. Really nice guy. He gave me the paperwork, and the rest was history.
Could you ever imagine Circuit City would go out of business?
You know, I mean, really, there's no reason for Circuit City to go out of business. But I was so surprised. I'm like, did you make an investment in something? Like, you know, go buy another company and don't just go out of business, you know, but it's not that easy.
Yeah, and you know, as an entrepreneur, you start to realize just how hard it is and all the ways that you can fail.
Yes.
That internet company, I started good timing, right? I start this thing in '98. I sell it right before the internet crash, get involved in other things. Timing is everything. Your crew, the people that you get around you, really important. But one of the humbling experiences that I had after selling that company was how many ways that I could have failed. How many of those moments in time that you can make go this way or go this way and everything is over or it blows up. Have you had those experiences in business?
Absolutely. You know, and as a founder and chairman in most of the situations, the last decision always comes down to me. And you got to feel good about that decision. And like you said, if I don't have a good team, the decision, I can't make the best decisions because I don't know the ins and outs, you know, of every single thing.
I was talking to Eric Huberman, the founder of Hawke, and, you know, I came in here first as a consultant, and I started saying, you know, being an entrepreneur is kind of a curse once you start operating a business, because the same people that were telling you that's a crazy idea, don't do it, you're going to fail, right? And you go, I don't know, man, I'm going to try it. Boom, you hit it. And those same similar people start to consult with you again, and you're kind of like, well, yeah, you're kind of the same guys that told me I shouldn't even have started this company. Now you're giving me critique.
Got to really go with your gut, and your gut, it should come from a place of teamwork.
Right.
It should come from a place of respect, I believe. but you can't question yourself because it's ultimately going to fall on you.
Win or lose, right? Win or lose. You'd rather go down with your decision than losing and having defaulted to somebody else. True.
Right. You don't want to blame it. You don't want to blame anyone else. You blame yourself. And me being a fairly new entrepreneur, most of my business has been in the NBA for 18 years. So I had to take on a lot of people as advisors, consultants, just to kind of get me over the top. I spoke to Hawke Media multiple times, and a lot of my peers and friends were like, "Why are you always around digital marketing companies?" And I'm just like, because if you don't have the marketing, you don't have anything. So I don't have to always hire $150,000 a year, $200,000 a year contract. That gets expensive, and you're never going to be able to get off the ground.
Hey man, one of the first things I learned, I grew up poor, all kidding aside, even though I grew up in Westchester, I was like in the hood in Westchester in this town. And I remember when I sold my company and made a bunch of money, how many people came out of the woodwork trying to hit me up for 150, 150. In business, people don't realize if somebody like Mike Tyson or Michael Jackson can go broke, I mean, those guys have billions almost.
Yeah.
It's not hard to spend money having people pull you in this direction or pull you in that direction, man. You've probably seen a lot of people just fade and be broke.
I think the one difference between a basketball player receiving a huge contract and an entrepreneur receiving an exit, the difference is that entrepreneur has been going through the business steps.
True.
The athlete has just been receiving the capital, right? So it's some discipline that the entrepreneur probably has over the athlete. Some athletes make really good decisions and they hire CEOs to run their business. And rather than hire your boy, why would you give your boy or your friend 150 grand when you can give that to a CEO to actually run your business? And I think you see some athletes actually are taking that approach.
I know personally, I felt this amazing humbleness and guilt when I sold my company that why did it happen to me? And now I got these other friends of mine that are smarter than me, that work hard, and I feel guilty, like I have to give them money. So I understand the dynamic. It's tough to get through that.
Think about it, just being an entrepreneur and me being a professional athlete, interested in some of the same things and feelings that we'll go through, from acquiring, a ton of wealth. But I think it's a really good and natural feeling to be worried about someone else. Yeah. That shows, that you're compassionate, and that's how we should feel, because 7 billion people on the planet, not everyone can be a CEO, not everyone can sell the company. So it's important for us to still have compassion for people that's not doing as well financially. So I think, however you was feeling, I think that was right.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. That's a good story, man. And that's true. I think a lot of people are a lot smarter and wiser than I am, and probably a lot more giving, but we do our best. I want to talk about New York for a second. I've been out here in California for 2 years. I met friends. What do you think the difference is between like your New York friends and West Coast friends, or people that you meet in towns like this?
Well, I mean, I think the difference is, where you're at in your life. So like when I left New York City to Chicago, I was still a New Yorker. Then a couple of years later, I go to Indiana, I'm still kind of a New Yorker. All right, but now I go to Sacramento. I've been going from New York for 8 years. So I don't even know where I'm from at this point. And then you begin, I'm in LA at 40 years old. I've been out of New York since 1999, right? But I'm still a New Yorker.
I lived in Portland, Oregon for 22 years.
Wow.
I lived there longer than New York. But my wife, almost married 30 years, I had an anniversary a couple months ago. She still doesn't get the sarcasm. She doesn't get the directness.
Oh.
The fact that we're like getting on each other, almost like they think you're going to start a huge fight. There's going to be a brawl breaking out when you're just giving each other shit. And I don't see that as much on the West Coast.
Yeah. I mean, it is a different directness going on in New York City, which I like. And sometimes you can miss it. But the weather in LA, is really, really good.
Hey, I was on one of my Zoom calls this morning, having meetings. I'm in Santa Monica on Ocean Avenue, man. I'm looking at the beach.
Yes.
You better shut up. You slap yourself for being in quarantine, because people pay to be quarantined for like a month at a time when they go on vacation to live where we do.
No, absolutely right. It's really true.
What do you miss though? I mean, it's nice out here, but what do you miss back there?
Probably friends. When I left New York, I I got a lot of people that know me, right? Just from being at St. John's. And, but I never really did anything after basketball, you know, in New York City. Because I was gone, I'll go to, let's say, Silicon Valley, you know, before I would go to Wall Street in New York City, you know, actually work with people that know me, you know.
Right.
And that's just because I've been gone for so long. But I do miss the people. I do miss the streets of New York City. I miss a lot of things about New York.
Neighborhood changed, different people there.
Neighborhood definitely changed. I'm from Long Island City, and Long Island City is like booming right now.
Dude, Long Island City. I was sold copiers in Astoria in Long Island City.
Wow.
After that release of Quiet Storm, your documentary, I think, you know, people really were taken with that film. I mean, what's happened since that's come out?
The documentary is great. People loved it. They said they was inspired by it. Originally, I wanted to do a piece of content that highlighted my game. You know, I didn't want to do content that highlighted mental health. I talk about it all the time. But then when the doc came out, you know, and people said they was touched by it, so I said, okay, we did a good job, really good job, and a good message. So I'm happy with it.
One of the things that struck me most was, you know, having other players talk about you and you know, specifically Kobe's comments about you. And obviously this last year it's just been a daze still, I think, with the passing of Kobe. How have you been processing that, man?
It's been crazy, you know. Kobe passed, and then COVID happens, and you forget about Kobe a little bit. Everybody's focusing on the future of this planet. Then you go, oh wow, Kobe's really not here. And like, oh my goodness, it's been a roller coaster ride. I even had a moment. I was on a plane. I just started crying, thinking about Kobe. I was flying overseas, you know, and to see him talk on The Last Dance, just like, how is this guy with this beard not here? You know, how is this new face guy not here? It's just so shocking still.
I think it shows you the fragility of life. And you know, when people talk about, if I can just get this done, and this done, then I'm going to have that opportunity to do this. And when you watch that get just cut short, where he seemed to be turning into this amazing man and father, husband, that he's dreaming of, probably along the way, like all of us do, that I'll have that 20, 30 years where I can do those things. And I think that it showed people that somebody even invincible, like the Kobes of the world, life can happen, man. And like that, it's done.
You know, the Kobe situation, he was hitting his stride. It was just body armor, art of his other product he had, his books, the Wizard Nod series, his details show at ESPN. I mean, he was hitting a stride from every single angle. It was just his family, right? It was just insane.
I mean, we should all take a lesson from that. Like, you got to be the best person you can be, love as many as you can love, and care for as many as you can care for. And at the end of the day, your friends know you, your family know you, right?
Definitely. That's the only thing that matters.
Metta, I appreciate you coming on. Hopefully you haven't become even more Zoom fatigued after talking to my big head for the last minutes. You shared a bunch of great things with us. What can we expect from you, man? Name change or something else happening from business?
Well, definitely you can visit artestmanagementgroup.com. And I'm really excited about what we're doing with artestmanagementgroup.com and being a resource for athletes. I want to be able to be a bridge for athletes in some circumstances where they want to accomplish a goal and they can't. I think this product here that I'm launching, my first product, I think it's going to show what I can do for athletes, and I'm just really excited about it. I got a lot of different things that I've been working on over the years, and a lot of support. So I'm really grateful for all the people that's been talking to me. You know, being a focused, locked-in defender, you know, for years, I'm not thinking about digital marketing. I ain't thinking about none of that stuff. I'm going to the gym. But also in my career, I was colorful, right? So I started my own sneaker company. I was 19 years old. I turned down the big companies' deals. Yeah. So I had the passion, and then I had I had the aspirations of doing my own businesses, and going through that whole process in the NBA, branding and commercials and all this other stuff, and seeing the possibilities. Being a math major, you know, when I was in college, so many different things that influenced me to where I'm at today, you know, and I made a decision to stay involved when I'm involved in. I could coach if I really wanted to. I could have went the process, but I either got to do full-time coaching or full-time what I'm doing now, you know. And I chose to just continue to stay on the path, continue to learn marketing, and be a bridge, you know, for athletes.
With leaders like you, and you guys aren't afraid to learn more and continue to ask questions, it's a breath of fresh air.
Thanks for having me.
How much, Metta? I appreciate it, man.
I really appreciate it. It's an honor to be able to talk to you guys and have that access to you guys. It's great.